Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It's now mid-December, so I thought it was about time I updated my Oscar predictions. Since the last time we spoke, a lot has gone on. We've gotten the Critics' Choice nominations, we've gotten the Golden Globes nominations, and I've also been able to check out a few films like Train Dreams, Wicked, Jay Kelly, and probably to a lesser extent the new Knives Out film. So there's a lot of new information flowing around. There's still a lot I want to see. I definitely want to see, the DGA nominations, the BAFTA nominations, to kind of see where things land with those areas. But we're starting to get a better grasp on what's going to happen when the Academy Award nominations are announced in January. So without further ado, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and let's jump into the predictions. As always, we're going to kick things off with Best Picture, and there really hasn't been too much shakeup in that top seven. I feel like those front seven films are definitely locks to make it into the Best Picture race. So, one battle after another: Hamnet, Sinners, Marty Supreme, Sentimental Value, Frankenstein, and It Was Just an Accident. Nothing has really changed over the past month that makes me feel like any of those films are in danger of missing, but those final three slots are still a giant mess. There is things happening every direction. We just don't know what's going on. I am holding steady with Begonia. I actually bumped it up one spot to number 8. It has been performing how we have expected. The only thing it really missed so far was Jesse Plemons at the Critics' Choice Awards, but we all know that lead actor is also very, very cramped this year, so it's not a surprise if he doesn't make it in. But the screenplay has been making it in everywhere it needs to, and Emma Stone has been making it in everywhere it needs to. Obviously, it's not picking up any director nominations this year. It's not making it into score like some people were expecting. But if it can hold strong with Emma Stone and the screenplay, and I think it has a pretty good chance of making it in just with that package, given how this year is shaking out so far. Then at the number 9 slot, I do have Train Dreams moving up 6 spots into the Best Picture 10. I saw Train Dreams. I absolutely loved it. I honestly think it is Netflix's best film this year. I liked it more than Jay Kelly. I liked it more than Frankenstein, and I liked it a lot more than A House of Dynamite. It is just such a beautiful small film, and I really hope Netflix continues to push it as it rolls along this award season race, because there isn't many categories it can get into. Joel Edgerton could possibly sneak into lead actor, but once again, we talked about how cramped that category is. Screenplay is definitely another area where it could, but it's another cramped category. I feel like where it could show up is cinematography, and I think that is what it deserves. It is a beautifully shot hit film. It looks stunning. And I just have a feeling that this is one of those small indies that's going to sneak in. But because of my uncertainty, I have Jay Kelly in at number 10 right now. Um, my gut feeling is Netflix is going to get 10, or is going to get two films in, I should say. Frankenstein is obviously going to be one of them, and then I think Train Dreams or Jay Kelly is going to make it in. Right now I feel stronger about Train Dreams, but I would not be shocked if Jay Kelly shows up. So for right now in December, I'm just kind of hedging my bet and having both of them in the 10. This will obviously change as we get closer to nominations morning, as I just don't feel like Netflix is going to get 3 movies in, but I feel pretty confident they're probably going to get 2 of them in. But outside of that, I have no other choice. Moving up to number 11, this is one of those films I think could sneak up and nab one of those, 8, 9, 10 slots. Definitely, I want to see how it's going to perform. It's not going to show up at the SAG Awards, unfortunately. They just do not go for international films. So BAFTA really needs to come out swinging nominations morning for this film if we want it to show up. I feel a little bit uncertain about that, but we will see. Other than that, this could be one of those international films that the Oscars go out for, and it just kind of appears out of thin air and gets a nomination in that Best Picture slot, similar to I'm Still Here from last year, kind of how that shocked nomination morning. But below that, I did bump Wicked out of the Best Picture 10 to number 12, with it missing the Golden Globes comedy musical category. I just don't feel very good about that. And now I know Jake Kelly and The Testament of Anne Lee both missed in that category as well. Wicked missing there definitely stings just because it is the highest profile film out of those three. We saw it perform extremely well last year, and it does seem like things are trailing off. Obviously, it's good that Cynthia Erivo still got in at the Globes, but Erivo missing at Critics' Choice is really, really bad considering that they over-nominated that film last year and gave John Chu Best Director. With Erivo just missing there, I have a feeling Wicked is on the downturn. I do have The Secret Agent at number 13. I still question if Neon just has too many eggs in their basket. They are pushing a lot of films. They could potentially have all five movies make it into the best international feature category. So they're juggling a lot of things right now, but The Secret Agent is on the uptick, especially with Wagner Mora more than likely getting into the best actor race. And then at 14 and 15, I have The Testament of Anne Lee and Avatar Fire and Ash. I feel like both these movies are now becoming more long shots to make it into the best picture race. So for me currently, I think it is between Begonia all the way down to The Secret Agent. I think, three of those six movies are going to nab those final three slots. But I think Begonia and then one of those two Netflix films have the best chance of making it in. But when it comes to that 10 slot, I literally do not know what's going on. And that's where I'm going to rely on the upcoming precursors to really hone in on what I think the Academy is going to do. Moving on now to director, I have a lot less shakeups here, but I do have one major faller. I'm keeping PTA and Ryan Coogler in at 1 and 2. I think they are performing extremely well, and that can be the same with Chloe Zhao for Hamnet. I still have Jafar Panahi in here for It Was Just an Accident. That seems like one of those international picks that the Academy is going to go out for, even though he hasn't showed up everywhere for the precursors so far. And then at number 5, I did move up Guillermo del Toro. He is doing much better than I was expecting for Frankenstein. And we've seen the Academy absolutely go out to bat for Del Toro before. Think about how Nightmare Alley got that Best Picture nomination a handful of years back. That was kind of unexpected. So for right now, I really do have to do that. And because of that, that made me bump Josh Safdie all the way down to number 7. Him missing at the Globes was definitely a shock for me. And I'm going to have to wait and see how things play out from here. We're definitely going to see the DGA nominations. I feel a little bit better about Safdie getting a DGA nomination, but where I'm a little bit worried is I'm not sure if he's going to get a BAFTA nomination. I think the BAFTAs would much rather go out for, Zhao, Del Toro, Trier over Safdie, so he could be one of those directors that is falling in this race, unfortunately. I have Joachim Trier moving up one spot just because that Safdie slide, and I just feel a little bit better about Trier currently just because of the Academy usually liking the international directors for 1 or 2 slots every single year, and I do think he is going to nab a BAFTA nomination as well. Everyone else below that, I definitely think is, really, really much a long shot to get in. I don't think Park Chan-wook, Lanthimos, or Fast Fold are really going to get in outside of an absolute shock nomination. I just have a hard time seeing any of them sneak up considering they don't have any precursors. I mean, I could see possibly Lanthimos or Fastfold showing up at the BAFTAs if they want to do something absolutely crazy. But right now, I do think this is down to that top 7 for this race. Kicking off the acting categories, I have lead actress. And the biggest shakeup here is I have everyone moving up one slot because I slid Cynthia Erivo out of the top 5. After Erivo missed the Critics' Choice and probably barely snuck in at the Golden Globes when they have 12 nominations in the lead actress slot, I just have a feeling she is not going to make it this year. Unfortunately, I think she is really good in Wicked for Good, but there are just some other better performances that I think are going to overtake that. Jessie Buckley, I still think, is going to be the sweeper this year. I don't really see anyone pushing her for the win. I could see Renata Reinsva possibly winning at something like BAFTA, but I also feel like BAFTA is absolutely going to love Hamnet as well. 3 through 5, though, you could mix and match these around, mostly because these films are on the cusp of Best Picture or possibly just a lone nomination for the film. And then you also have someone like Chase Infinity, who is brand new on the scene, really hasn't been in many other films, and sometimes the Academy likes to leave out those younger actors. So right now I have Amanda Seyfried for The Testament of Anne Lee. If anything's going to get in for this film, I think it's going to be her. Everyone who talks about this film says she is the bright spot of the movie and is absolutely fantastic. And she's been doing really well so far, so I think she's still going to make it. At number four, I'm keeping Emma Stone in there. Emma Stone has got everything she needs so far. I know a lot of people weren't wanting to slot her into their top five initially because they didn't think the Academy is going to want to give her another nomination after winning for Poor Things and becoming, one of the youngest actors to win multiple Oscars. But with the competition this year and Begonia being one of those cusp Best Picture nominees, I think she's going to get in again here, even though she's not in winning contention. At number five, then, I have Rose Byrne for If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. I still haven't been able to check out this movie yet. I heard it's a really weird, kind of depressing film that not everyone clicks with, but everyone pretty much agrees she's fantastic. I was a little bit worried about her initially because she is the only thing that can really get in from this movie, and if the movie is a little bit weird, I wasn't sure if everyone is going to watch it, but Rose Byrne has been performing extremely well so far, so I have to put her in. With that being said, having Chase Infinity at number six does feel kind of odd, considering One Battle After Another is more than likely going to win Best Picture. I just have a hard time predicting five acting nominations for this film. That's something that does not happen all too often, and I feel like it's been decades upon decades since something like that has happened. And I feel much more strongly about, Tiana Taylor, Leonardo DiCaprio, Del Toro, and Sean Penn making it in over Infinity. So right now I have her kind of on that cusp in the sixth slot. But if someone like BAFTA goes out for her and she gets in at SAG, I'm gonna have to put Infinity in at that point. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this plays out. I still have Kate Hudson and Jennifer Lawrence down there at 8 and 9. They got in, when there was more slots available, but I have a hard time seeing them crack in. I'm almost leaning towards grouping a Revo in with them as well because I feel like this race is shrinking down to just those top six currently. Shifting over to a much more competitive category, we have lead actor. I still have Chalamet and DiCaprio at 1 and 2. They're going to be staples this entire season. But anything below that, this is where some real conversations can start happening. I do think Wagner Moura is almost a lock at this point. I moved him up 3 slots to make it in. I know I got some comments on my last video asking why I didn't have Moura in the race. I was just kind of questioning if Neon was going to have the capabilities to push that many, films into that many categories, when they're more than likely getting behind It Was Just an Accident as their main film and sentimental value obviously as well. So yeah, they have 2 films there that I think are above The Secret Agent, but with the precursors, I think Mora is more than likely a lock now as well. At number 4, I have Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon. Everyone just keeps talking about this performance, but kind of like Rose Byrne's and If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, it's going to more than likely be the sole nomination for this film unless it somehow sneaks up into screenplay. And sometimes I have a hard time picking out those, like sole nomination actors that make it in sometimes. I just feel like I would rather pick a actor that's in a movie that would make it into Best Picture, but that doesn't always happen. And Ethan Hawke seems to be pretty strong at this point in time. I bumped Michael B. Jordan down 2 slots, and he's gotten in everywhere he needs to as well. But as I begin to process, there's usually one of those actors that gets snubbed every single year, and we're left scratching our heads a little bit confused. And to me, Michael B. Jordan feels kind of like Margot Robbie in Barbie for some reason. Even though I think his performance is stronger in Sinners than Robbie was that year, it's the one person I'm feeling extremely iffy about right now. And the one person I think that could push that nomination is Joel Edgerton in Train Dreams. Train Dreams, and Joel Edgerton's performance is very quiet, very, kind of personal and an internal performance. It's not loud, it's not showy. He's not like screaming at people. So I don't know. We've seen people like Paul Mescal get in for After Sun, and that's kind of what I would compare Joel Edgerton getting into, like that sort of performance. I would like to see Edgerton get into SAG. I feel like SAG is going to be a big tell on what I'm going to actually predict for nominations morning, but I'm definitely keeping my eyes on this race. Then I have Jesse Plemons for Begonia, Liam Bunhun for No Other Choice, and George Clooney for Jake Kelly down there at 7, 8, and 9. They're definitely more in spoiler territory, I'd think, at this time. But, I could also see one of them nabbing a SAG nomination, specifically Plemons or Clooney, and jumping right back into this race. Supporting actress is another category that's really interesting right now. If you asked me to pick who is going to win the Oscar in a handful of months, I would have no idea. This is really going to come down to who wins those precursors. And nominations seem to be a little bit easier than picking out who's going to win. Starting off, I have Igna Ibsdottir Lilius. She is getting everywhere she needs to. People are saying she's one of the standouts in sentimental value, so I think she'll get in here. Same with Tiana Taylor. She's been getting everywhere she needs to. She's fantastic in One Battle. Ariana Grande is at my number 3 slot. Some people have completely removed her out of their top 5. I feel like Ariana Grande definitely deserves a nomination here. I thought she was really good in Wicked for Good. She was probably the bright spot for me, honestly. And if Wicked's going to get some craft categories, she's going to continue to have opportunities to snag a slot here in supporting actress. But if that begins to tumble a little bit, I may question it. Obviously, I think she's going to get into SAG. If she misses SAG, obviously I'm taking her out of my top 5. BAFTA, though, could snub her pretty easily considering who else is available down this list. And that leaves me scratching my head a little bit because if she's missing places like BAFTA, that's an open door for the Academy to snub her. But right now, I'm leaving Grande in. Elle Fanning has also been doing what she needs to. I'm leaving her in at number 4, but once again, she's also someone who could miss just because they don't want to double nominate in this category. But double nominations is something we've seen in the past, and it's not all that uncommon, so I feel pretty confident with her as well. Then at number 5, I'm giving in. I put Amy Madigan in for Weapons. I did not think that it was a possibility. It's kind of a one-off horror film that has pretty much no other category it has a shot in getting nominated in outside of makeup. But Amy Madigan is out there campaigning. She is getting in everywhere so far, so I have no reason to doubt her at this point. With that being said, we have Wonmi Masaku at number 6. She's doing extremely well. So obviously she is someone who could come in and possibly swap for Grande if she continues to fall. At 7 and 8, I have the two Marty Supreme actresses, Gwyneth Paltrow and Odessa Zion. They have showed up essentially nowhere so far, at least anywhere important. I really thought that one of them was going to be a lock in this category, especially if you go back a month ago. I would have told you I think Gwyneth Paltrow is almost, a lock to get in. I thought someone from this movie outside of Chalamet was going to contend in an acting category, but that just doesn't seem to be the case. Case in point, I have Emily Blunt in at number 9 for The Smashing Machine. She got in at the Golden Globes. The other two actresses from Marty Supreme did not, but I just have a hard time seeing Emily Blunt go much further than the Globes. That just seems like a very Globesy thing to do. And then at number 10, I have Regina Hall. I just unfortunately don't think she's happening. There's just too many other acting contenders for One Battle for her to try to get into this race. And for our final acting category, it's probably the most condensed and cutthroat, that is supporting actor. I feel very confident that these top 4 that I did not change in rankings are going to make it into the Academy Awards. Sean Penn, Paul Mescal, Stellan Skarsgård, and Benicio del Toro. If you're asking me who's going to win out of these 4, I have no idea. I still haven't seen Sentimental Value or Hamnet. I prefer Sean Penn over Del Toro in One Battle After Another, but he has been picking up some critic prizes, so he may be the front runner in this category for that film. And then that 5th slot is very, very up for grabs. I unfortunately think Delroy Lindo is on the outside looking in. I wanted to list him there because I absolutely love his performance in Sinners, but I do think that 5th slot is either going to go to Jacob Elordi or Adam Sandler. I have Adam Sandler in right now. I just think he's more beloved by the industry, and he hasn't had an Oscar nomination ever, and I think people would like to get him in. And Jay Kelly is one of his, best performances. It may not be Uncut Gems, it may not be Punch Drunk Love, but it's probably top 5 for his best performances of all time. So if they want to honor him, get him in to, get him nominated for a category, I think this is the time to do it. Jacob Elordi is really good in Frankenstein, but I just feel like he isn't given a ton to do with the monster in that movie. I personally prefer Adam Sandler's performance over Jacob Elordi's. Um, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. That one's going to go back and forth. I personally feel like Adam Sandler is going to get into SAG, so that is why I am leaning him currently over Elordi. Shifting over to the screenplay categories, we're going to kick it off with adapted screenplay. I have Hamnet, One Battle After Another, and Begonia at 1, 2, 3. Those three have been making it everywhere. They seem like some real true locks. Then I have a flip flop going on here. I have No Other Choice and Train Dreams in, and Frankenstein and Wake Up Dead Man shifting out. I'm doing this because No Other Choice seems to be surging, and Screenplay seems to be a place it can jump in and nab a nomination, and that seems to be its doorway to getting a Best Picture nomination if it wants one. And then I have Train Dreams at number 5. Once again, just a surging movie and such a fantastic, heartfelt screenplay. I personally prefer it over Frankenstein, another Netflix movie. I think Frankenstein, well, it changes up the original story. I feel like it's still a little bit paint by the numbers. I feel like Train Dreams is more original, even though it's probably a lot less like words spoken, and sometimes the Academy does like those wordy movies more than these kind of like quiet, slow films. Uh, but Frankenstein's screenplay just didn't wow me in any way whatsoever. It's much more of a crafts film for me. So I'm leaning towards Train Dreams currently. And I unfortunately had to bump Wake Up Dead Man down to number 7. I just checked out that film. It came out on Netflix yesterday. I think it's a fantastic screenplay. You could argue it's the best Knives Out film. And the previous 2 Knives Out films made it into the screenplay category, but it just hasn't shown up anywhere yet this award season, which is unfortunate because I think Ryan Johnson did a fantastic job there. But he's gonna need some help if he wants to get this third film in. And then I have Wicked down at number 8. That's just not happening anymore. In my opinion, people are very sour on this film. I don't think this film has any chance in any above the line categories outside of Ariana Grande, and then hanging on by a thread trying to get into that like 9th or 10th slot for Best Picture. Moving over to original screenplay, I don't have anyone shifting out of my top 5 from last month, but I added a lot of new screenplays I wasn't even considering before. So Sentimental Value, Sinners, Marty Supreme, It Was Just an Accident, Jay Kelly, that is what I'm going with. But we have some new films opening up opportunities here. Blue Moon, The Secret Agent, and Sorry Baby. I think they all have a shot of getting in, and I think their shot to get in is if Jay Kelly does not make it into Best Picture. There is a world where Jay Kelly misses Best Picture, Jacob Elordi gets in over Adam Sandler for supporting actor, and Jay Kelly is just completely dead. It completely blanks at the Academy Awards. And if that happens, we could see Blue Moon get in because Ethan Hawke makes it into leading actor. We could see the same thing because of Wagner Moore in The Secret Agent. And I think I forgot to update my graphic, but Eva Victor is someone who could also get into leading actress if she surges for some reason. I just feel a little bit less confident in her, but Sorry Baby has picked up screenplay nominations so far. So I am really interested to see what happens here, but I feel locked in with my top 5 if I feel confident Jay Kelly's going to make it into Best Picture. But if that slips, someone else is going to take that 5th slot here. Kicking off our below the line categories, the brand new category at this year's Oscars, casting. I still don't really know what to do with this category. I tried doing some more interesting things last video. I'd Wake Up Dead Man closer to the 5. I'd Wicked for Good in. But currently, I just kind of have the top 5 movies in right there. One Battle, Sinners, Sentimental Value, Marty Supreme, Hamnet. I shifted them around a lot just because I kind of just threw something randomly together last month. But the more I sit with this category, I have a feeling it's just going to be 5 of the top 6 or 7 contending films in Best Picture making into casting. I still have Wicked for Good there. Obviously, this category didn't exist last year. If it did, it would have gotten in just because of that Arrivo and Grande casting. So if they kind of want to give it a makeup nomination this year, I could see that happening, but with that film underperforming, I'm leaving it out currently. Frankenstein, I don't really think that cast is all that impressive. I think these other films are better in my opinion. Jake Kelly would be a really fun casting choice just because there's a lot of fun like people that pop up throughout that movie. So it has an opportunity to sneak in, especially if it gets into the best picture category. And then Wake Up Dead Man, I thought that would be a contender just because of the fantastic ensemble cast that Ryan Johnson and crew put together, like they always do for the Knives Out franchise. But with it showing up pretty much nowhere else this season, I have a hard time seeing it getting a nomination here. So I'm just kind of sticking with those five currently. Moving over to cinematography, not much shaken up here as well. Sinners, One Battle After Another, Frankenstein, Hamnet just feel like movies that are going to make it in. I have moved up Train Dreams 2 slots and bumped Marty Supreme out. I just feel like Train Dreams is an absolutely stunning film and it really deserves to get in here. Like I said, I've not seen Marty Supreme yet. That opens up Christmas Day, so that may change my mind once I see that. But Train Dreams is one of the most stunning films this year, and I think it deserves to get in. F1 has been performing extremely well in cinematography and below the line categories. So F1 could shock and get a lot more nominations than we're expecting, which is something I called last month in November. A lot of people did not have F1 in many, categories outside of like visual effects and sound, but I think it's going to do a lot better than that. I think this movie could get 4 to 6 nominations. It made a ton of money at the box office. It did really well international, so it can pull in those international voters. And it's just all around a really, really solid sports and racing film. So don't be shocked if F1 shows up more places than you're currently thinking. Then I have Begonia and the Testament of Anne Lee down there. Longer shots for sure. I feel like it's between these top 7 to get into cinematography. For costumes, I'm going to keep this really brief. I don't have much shifting. This is one category I still think Wicked has a shot to win in. I left it at number 1. Frankenstein would be the second film that's right on its heels. I'll probably swap those two eventually, but I just preferred the Wicked costume, so I left it as is for now, just predicting nominations. But then Sinners, Hamnet, and I have the Testament of Anne Lee. I feel like if Amanda Seyfried's going to make it in, I feel like the Testament of Anne Lee should get a costume nomination as well. But we have seen some other films pop up recently, like Kiss of the Spider Woman and Hedda, that I have down there at 6 and 9. It's not all that uncommon to see a film pop up in a costume category if it's not really performing well in above the line categories. So I definitely want to give them a shout out. But then I have One Battle After Another and Marty Supreme. I think those are more unlikely just given they have more contemporary basic costumes. I mean, if they really love the Marty Supreme jacket, maybe they'll nominate it just because of that. But I kind of have a hard time seeing that, as these other films are definitely more, beautiful when it comes to the costume design. Up next is makeup and hairstyling. I still have Jacob Elordi transforming into Frankenstein's monster at number 1. I still think this is a good spot for Wicked for Good to make it in as well, given all of the different styles that Galinda and Elphaba have, and also putting the green makeup on Cynthia Erivo as well. I have Sinners there for all of the vampire stuff going on. I have Weapons if Amy Madigan's going to make it in. All of the Aunt Gladys makeup and weird wigs need to make it in too. And then I have the Smashing Machine. Dwayne Johnson definitely is wearing like a nose prosthetic, things like that. So I think that has a chance to get in. But also Ethan Moon and I believe Andrew Scott. I haven't seen Blue Moon yet, but I believe they're wearing some kind of face prosthetics as well. So if Ethan Hawke is very strong in lead actor, we could see that sneak in. Amy Madigan and Weapons kind of pairing together for a acting makeup nomination, and then Ethan Hawke Blue Moon. That's definitely a possibility. Then I have 28 Years Later down there for all the zombie makeup. I think it's definitely a longer shot at this point in time, and same with Begonia. Moving over to film editing, I still have the same top 5 here. One Battle After Another, Sinners, Marty Supreme, Hamnet, and I did predict F1 a month ago, and I'm glad I did. I'm leaving it there in the 5th slot. The one film that's definitely surging in the editing category is No Other Choice, but once again, I really want to see that film perform just a tad bit better before I start slotting it in to these below the line categories. Then Sentimental Value, Frankenstein, Begonia, Wicked for Good, definitely have opportunities there. I could see Sentimental Value sneaking up. But I'm just not sure what it would overtake there. I just feel pretty solid in these top five right now. No other choice is making me a little bit uneasy though. Production design's another category that hasn't moved around too much for me. Frankenstein, Sinners, Wicked for Good are the three leading films in this category. Hamnet, Marty Supreme are kind of those best picture contenders I am putting in here currently, but I would not be shocked if like one battle after another sneaks in here as well. Avatar just does not seem like it's going to do much at all outside of visual effects, so I bumped that down to number seven. Teston Van Lee would definitely need to start doing a little bit better to get in anywhere outside of lead actress and makeup for me. And Begonia, I think, is just one of those lower tier movies that just won't sneak up in to the top five here. So not much movement here, but I am feeling more and more confident that Frankenstein is probably the leading film in this category. Moving over to score, we have the three films that have been performing just as well as they need to. One Battle After Another, Sinners, Hamnet. They're locks to make it in my opinion. Frankenstein's been doing it needs to. I just don't think that score is all that great, so I wouldn't be upset if it missed. And then I do have Hans Zimmer in at number five for F1. He is popping up places. Once again, another category where F1 is just doing better than people would expect. I think a lot of people prefer the Marty Supreme and Begonia scores over Hans Zimmer's F1 score, but I wouldn't be shocked if F1 gets in here as well. Outside of that, the Testament of Anne Lee, moving down one slot, I just don't know how to feel about that. I did put Jay Kelly in at number nine. The Jay Kelly score hasn't shown up anywhere yet, so I don't think it's going to get nominated, but I put it there just because I recently saw the movie and I loved the score for Jay Kelly. I personally think it would deserve a nomination, but I don't think it's going to shake out that way this year. Moving over to sound, I still have F1 at number one, Sinners, One Battle After Another. I have Frankenstein moving up into the top five here, and then I bumped down Avatar, Fire and Ash. I know I just said a couple minutes ago that I think Avatar's only in visual effects, but the movie just looks like it's going to be a sound powerhouse, and I'm just not sure what is going to push it. Warfare did get a nomination, I believe, at the Critics' Choice Awards, so that is a possibility, but this is really the only category it's contending in. I do think it got a visual effects nomination there too. I just don't see that happening at all personally. Wicked for Good, I just don't know. I need to take Wicked out of some of these craft categories because it's just not going to get the nomination count it did last year. And I didn't think the sound was all that impressive. So yeah, I did take it out here. And then I still have Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I think the Mission Impossible is a really well crafted film, even if the story was a little bit more clunky compared to Dead Reckoning. I still think it's a film that is worthy of a nomination, so I wanted to keep it in here. This is one I'm definitely interested to see how BAFTA goes, because this one could go many different directions. But I feel pretty confident that those top four are going to get in. Moving over to visual effects, still have Avatar at number one, F2, Superman, Frankenstein. They're all shifting up one spot, and that's because I moved Wicked for Good down to number five. The visual effects in Wicked are still very solid, but once again, it's just sliding a little bit. I'm not sure what would overtake it. I do think Sinners and Mission Impossible would be really good picks as well. Fantastic Four and How to Train Your Dragon really haven't been performing how they need to at the precursors. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen here. Sinners doesn't seem like the movie that has a ton of visual effects, but I think the little bit it does have is utilized extremely well. So it is possible that Sinners, just being as strong as it is, would sneak up here. But as you'll see a little bit later in this video, I already have Sinners for a ton of nominations, so I don't want to like over nominate it too hard because I already kind of feel like I have too many nominations in for it. But Mission Impossible, I think Final Reckoning got in last time, or Dead Reckoning got in last time, excuse me. So it's very possible that the last Mission Impossible movie could get in there as well. Then we have animated feature. This race almost feels like it's kind of sewn up at this point in time. K-pop Demon Hunters, Zootopia 2, Arco, Little Amelie, and Elio have been the five that have been getting everything they need to so far. In Your Dreams has popped up a couple different times, but with K-pop Demon Hunters already being a Netflix film, Netflix worrying about there are 3 or 4 other films they have to push in all the other categories. I just have a feeling that it's going to miss, and this top 5 is pretty locked at this point in time. Original song is a category where we have gotten a lot of new information over the past couple weeks. Golden seems to be a lock to almost win at this point in time. I Lied to You seems to be a lock to make it in. And then also I have the Diane Warren slot for her documentary about herself. Diane Warren, Relentless. I have Relentless in. Girl in the Bubble seems to be the one Wicked for Good song that is performing well. We have seen No Place Like Home pop up a couple different places, but I feel more confident in Girl in the Bubble. At number 5, I have a new addition, and that is Train Dreams, from the movie Train Dreams. This just seems to be another nomination this film can nab on its path to getting that Best Picture nomination. So, if it could get screenplay, cinematography, song, I think that's a really good package to get into Best Picture. If Joel Edgerton comes along with the ride, all the better. There's also Clothed by the Sun from The Testament of Anne Lee. Definitely could get in. And then there's the Miley Cyrus song Dream is One from Avatar Fire and Ash. I also believe the Critics' Choice nominated like an Ed Sheeran song from F1. That just seems like something the Academy wouldn't do. They generally don't go out for a song like that when it's just like name value, and I don't even think that song played in the movie. I think it was probably like a credit song. Um, so for that alone, I'm feeling pretty good about this top 5. I believe there also is another song in the Diane Warren documentary. I don't know the name of it, but I just feel like the title song is the best to make it into the top 5, but be on the lookout in case that other film is the one that makes it into this category. Moving over to international feature, could be renamed to the neon category for this year, but I have Sentimental Value, It Was Just an Accident, No Other Choice, Secret Agent. They're all making it in. The only other film that could flip-flop, I have Surat at number 5, and then The Voice of Hein Rajab at number 6. Those seem to be the 2 films that have the opportunity to flip back and forth. The rest of these movies I don't think have an opportunity to make it in, but I have Surat making it in just because that film has made it into categories like score so far at other awards bodies. So when you're getting nominations outside of this international category, I feel more strongly about you, so I have Surat in currently. And finally, I just wanted to go over my nomination total. I still have Sinners at 13 nominations, which seems like quite a bit, but it's hard. It's contending, in a lot of craft categories. So I think it could get up there and be the most nominated film at this year's awards. One Battle After Another right behind it at 12, Hamnet right behind that at 11. Then I have Frankenstein at 9, Sentimental Value at 8. Then I have Wicked for Good dropping 5 nominations to only have 6. I feel like Wicked for Good is still going to get at least like 4 nominations, but it could drop out of a couple more categories, honestly. Marty Supreme, I surprisingly had dropping out of 4 categories. I had Gwyneth Paltrow in, I had Josh Safdie in, so that's 2 nominations right there. This movie is just starting to feel not as strong as it was when it first premiered about a month ago. But overall, though, I still think Marty Supreme is a top 5 or 6 contender, even though it might not be number 2 or 3. Then It Was Just an Accident, and F1, both with 4 nominations. I think F1 is going to hover right around this amount. Train Dreams, I had adding 4. I had 0 nominations for it the last time I made a video. But I think Train Dreams is a film that deserves to get into the Academy Awards and get this amount of nominations. I have Begonia dropping 2. I believe that is Makeup and Jesse Plemons I bumped down. But Begonia really just needs this package right here to get into Best Picture, in my opinion, and that is Screenplay and Emma Stone. That makes it strong enough. I think it'll do that. Jay Kelly picking up 1. I think that's just because I didn't have it in Best Picture the last time we spoke. It could definitely fall out for sure. Avatar dropping down 1. I just don't feel confident in that movie doing too well this award season. But then I have K-Pop Demon Hunters, Weapons, Testament of Anne Lee, and No Other Choice, all sitting at 2 nominations. I feel like this is a pretty good spread of films getting multiple nominations, so something like this could play out pretty closely. I'm very interested to see if Sinners will be the most nominated film. It just seems like it's the easiest to do. But One Battle After Another is another movie that could easily get over-nominated just because it's more than likely going to win Best Picture. But we'll just have to see how everything shakes out in the coming month and a half, leading up to the Academy Award nominations, I believe on January 16th or 17th. I want to thank you for checking out my updated Oscar predictions. Let me know your thoughts on my predictions and some people you're predicting in the comments down below. And while you're down there, drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It all goes in a long way in helping me out. Thank you, and have a good one, everybody.